I'm Chris Hind, director, host, and subject matter of the documentary The Encounter. I was coming home from a film festival in East Vancouver when this happened. It was just past midnight, and the weather was clear and cool, not a cloud in the sky. I had just finished my final volunteer shift at the Vancouver International Film Festival and started walking home. I walked beside Clark Park at 14th Avenue and Commercial Drive, and when I gazed at the North Shore Mountains, I noticed a very faint mist in the sky coalescing over the peaks. I entered the park to gain elevation and watched the mist continue to coalesce until it became opaque and obscured my view of the mountains. In a matter of minutes, the huge cloud quickly morphed from white to green and evolved into a very active display of northern lights that danced over the mountain peaks. Delighted by what I was witnessing, I stood mesmerized by the aurora and marveled at this odd weather event. But there was still more to come. Another mist began to materialize in the same manner, and it grew in size and opacity. I could barely see the northern lights display through the mist as it continued to grow and condense. And just then, things accelerated to a new level. The new misty cloud that had just materialized before my eyes began to slowly glide toward me over the water, as if under intelligent control. The park was unusually quiet, and I couldn't see, hear, or sense anyone else or any traffic nearby. In less than 5 minutes, the mist glided across the water, morphing into a new shape. And now it loomed over me, 100 meters high and wide. As I looked skyward, the cloud had defined itself into the shape of a bell, and when I looked up into the dome of the bell, I saw a dark, swirling void with a few colored lights, like stars. And just above the level of my head, the bottom edge of the bell squirmed and writhed with waving, misty tentacles. I thought to myself that whatever was happening, I seemed to be the focal point, and that this encounter was for me and me alone. Numerous beams of white light emanating from the edge of the bell scanned me and then lifted me up into a horizontal position high above the ground. In the dark dome of the bell, I noticed a beam of white light approaching me from the depths of the void. This is rather hard to describe, but imagine a lighthouse lying horizontally instead of vertically, and how the light would look sweeping in a vertical arc. And to be clear, there was no lighthouse in the sky, just that kind of light. The light swept around on its arc and beamed down inside of the misty bell, flooding me and the park with a brilliant, pure white light that I can only describe as clean. This light illuminated the inside walls of the bell and burned the outline of a gigantic bird-like shape with huge, outstretched wings. The light blazed down for a few seconds and then swept away on its arc, away from me. At this point, a word came into my thoughts as clearly as white chalk on a blackboard. Angel. And then the experience, the message, the encounter came to an end. As quickly as it had crossed the distance from the mountains to my location, the misty bell began to fly southeast. And as I watched it glide away, the mists began to disperse and evaporate and dissipate into thin air. My journey via this documentary is to ascertain what happened to me and explore all the possibilities. Did it really happen, or was it a figment of my imagination? Why was I singled out? Is this type of event even possible? I've narrowed down the possibilities into 5 categories. 1, angels. 2, UFOs and other dimensions. 3, the Holy Spirit. 4, physiological. And 5, maybe I'm just nutty as a fruitcake and I thought up the whole thing.
Your angel encounter was an opening up to the superconscious mind.
It's a big gift from God.
They want to see how you are assimilating changes through. That's a feeling I have strong.
It is not imagination, it is not hallucination.
This could be God using a vision to get your attention because he wants to know you personally and he wants to have a relationship with you.
So the experience I had, you said it was kind of visionary.
Yeah, I would be tempted to say visionary, yes, because of the description that you attach to it.
We would all be living in bliss because, as I said before, the archangels are coming to introduce to you unconditional love so that you can introduce that to those around you. And it goes on and it goes on and it goes on.
Resistor of the instrument, which fingers over. This one goes on this finger, that's an insulator. This one goes on this finger.
The clouds, the clouds, the clouds, the clouds that started things off. What I witnessed that night was very peculiar. The misty clouds coalesced at a very fast rate, much faster than a normal weather pattern. The weather data confirms that the skies were clear, perfectly clear. The first cloud ascended and morphed into the northern lights. The second moved towards me, as if under intelligent control. Any ideas why the cloud shape was in the shape of a bell?
Not particularly. I believe it was mostly to draw your attention. Do you understand? So to draw you to the fantastic form that was coming. Bells themselves are, again, pay attention, notice. It is a time of coming to new fruition. Do you understand?
This one goes on the upper chest. Checking your breathing up there. 2 plates on your fingers.
The Aurora Borealis. Aurora, sunrise. Borealis, wind. Beautiful, haunting, otherworldly. Why did the Aurora Borealis show up on the night of my encounter? The indigenous people of Greenland believe that the lights are the dancing spirits of dead children. The Inuit believe that the lights are the souls of the dead playing soccer with a walrus skull. And in Norse mythology, it's believed that the lights are glinting off the shields, helmets, and spears of the Valkyries. Some say, if you whistle, the lights will come to you and dance around you. So perhaps in some way, I called them in. Or another explanation is that it was a teaser of things to come. Stick around, Chris, and wait till you see what happens next.
is that all the aspects of what occurred to you were a foundation being laid for paying attention. So it was to open your eyes to a clearer view. The Northern Lights are a very, very positive sign. When people sit in the Northern Lights, they are getting an exceptional amount of universal energy given to them. So the Northern Lights showing up for you in association with the bell, in association with the phoenix type bird, you understand, all amalgamated to you having that awakening moment. The Northern Lights were feeding you at the time, do you understand, to ensure energetically that you would remember everything that was going on. So you don't need someone to take you back to that space. Do you understand? That space is right there in front of you. That moment is as bright as the Northern Lights.
This is the only bad news. I put 160 milligrams of pressure in the mercury in your arm cuff. I drop it down to a 60, but even at...
And in that second cloud, the outline of a bird with outstretched wings. I've searched for an image that resembles what I saw that night, and I found this, the Fravahar, the guardian soul, the forward-pulling source. It is winged, signifying the ascent of the soul, or the upward progress. Sounds a lot like a phoenix. The phoenix is a long-lived bird that undergoes cyclical regeneration, or is born again. The phoenix may represent the sun, time, resurrection, paradise, Christ, Mary, virginity, the exceptional man, and certain aspects of Christianity.
Because of what we saw, which was to our eyes, to the angel's eyes, was the phoenix rising. So the wing depth, the spread of the wing, was a showing of how you are moving into a new direction. When I asked if it was a phoenix, the answer I got from Michael himself was that you are rising above the rest. That, to me, if I can interpret that for you, would be the interpretation would be that you are ascending at a different level than other people around you.
He's written 2 or 3 books about this lady and the things that happened to her. And the reason I bring her into the conversation is that she had an experience where she saw a phoenix rising from the ashes. And your description of the event that took place bears a slight resemblance to what she experienced.
So with the phoenix and the bell together, and again, I'm not saying the bird was 100% the phoenix, although he won't deny it to me. That's the feel that he gives me. That is your awakening. That is your awakening. Hear the message, friend, and know that you're rising out of the ashes. And that is a typical phoenix display. Do you understand? But it's relevant to you because the bell is like, pay attention to us. We don't want to wait anymore for you.
Another possibility is the thunderbird. Some people believe that the thunderbird actually existed, like a giant eagle or a giant condor. And today the thunderbird is revered in its spiritual form. The Winnebago First Nations believe that the thunderbird is a shapeshifter and capable of manipulating weather.
And we'll show how this works. Turn on the instrument. And some sensitivity into it.
And the word angel filled my consciousness. Angel. How odd. I'm a very spiritual man, but not in the organized religious sense of the word. Now, don't get me wrong, I do believe in guardian angels, and I do believe that they've helped me avoid drowning on numerous occasions. But glowing humanoids with flowing robes is a bit of a stretch.
Angels, there's something common between angels and jinns, is that they are both normally invisible to the ordinary eye, unless they're only visible to some people who have attained, have rights to a higher dimension of existence, because existence has many, many dimensions. Normally, my own findings are in our spiritual development, we go from, there's about 8 levels, and normally to be able to see jinns, you may have to reach 60th level, and when you go beyond that to the 8th level, that's the time when you are able to see angels.
When you have an experience like this, when the angels come through and actually connect with you on a human level, and what I mean by that is you are seeing something on a street, looking up in the air and being like, holy mackerel, what is this?
I always think of angels like Michael and Gabriel and Ariel coming from kind of a religious context. Is it much more than that, like long?
Much more than that. According to spirit, so according to the metaphysical connections that I have personally, and I can only speak through the way I connect to spirit, is that there's only one consciousness. So we all may have these human factors and religions that all come from different places, but it's all unconditional love and how we aspire to achieve that unconditional love. So when the archangels come through, they are truly spiritual beings that have existed in some manner in other dimensions or other metaphysical ways to be looked at, and they come through and they connect with us. Why we call them archangels is because it's easier for us as humans to relate to them. So they are higher vibrational beings. There's a hierarchy, and they come through and they are of the highest vibration. So again, just to be clear, when an archangel comes through and actually gives you something like they did for you, and I have no doubt, I believe 100% that what I was receiving was correct for you, then there is something bigger for you.
So it's not always the popular notion. The popular notion of, little kids with wings, sitting on clouds, strumming harps, little halos, stuff like that. The Bible doesn't really talk about angels in that sense so much. It talks about angels as supernatural beings, as otherworldly figures that sometimes show up in the physical realm and sometimes reveal themselves.
And what if the cloud and the bird were not describing themselves to me, but addressing me? Now, I'm not a conceited wanker that goes around thinking the world revolves around him. I only mention it because my spiritual and shamanic friends have suggested it to me on many occasions.
Are you afraid that I will ask you a question that we've not gone over?
No. Blessed Anne Catherine Emmerich was a Roman Catholic nun, a mystic, an esoteric, and a stigmatist. In the 1800s, her visions were recorded by poet Clemens Brentano. One vision in particular, the Holy Spirit descending at Pentecost, caught my eye.
But coming nearer, it looked larger and floated over the city like a luminous mass of fog, until it stood above Zion in the house of the Last Supper. The luminous cloud descended low over the house. Afterward, There shot from the rushing clouds streams of white light down upon the house and the surroundings. The points at which the 7 streams intersected was surrounded in a rainbow light, in which floated a luminous figure with outstretched wings or rays of light that looked like wings attached to the shoulders. In that same instant, the whole house and its surroundings was penetrated through and through with white light.
As I mentioned, I'm not a religious man, and I don't recall reading anything by Brentano. Many have suggested that Brentano embellished her visions, but the church thought enough of her to beatify her in 2004.
Did you ever tell any serious lies to anyone that trusted you completely?
No. And what about UFOs? The clouds certainly moved as if it was under intelligent control. However, Graham Conway, then head of UFO BC, didn't think that the incident was extraterrestrial in origin. And as if creatures capable of interstellar travel would be interested in probing us puny humans up the butt. Unless, of course, they had a very evolved sense of humor. Could my encounter be other dimensional? Did I slip into their dimension? Did they slip into mine?
So it is not imagination, it is not hallucination. According what I heard from you, it's a direct experience. On that time, your physical body definitely experiencing that special light. When that physical body experiences that special light, it is easy to visualize. You can see many things in the space. There may be celestial moving with a beautiful chariot. Now we cannot see, but when you have that cleanness, pure conscious, you can reflect, you can see. So therefore, based on the information what I heard from you, I can say definitely it is some kind of divine experience. And this is the what is called beings, called Manusha Gandharvaha. They are million times powerful than us. They are divine beings. They are so merciful, and also they are very enjoyable type. They filled with all kind of music, decoration, art. This all the so many things are there in that planet. It's very, very special planet.
They are beings of light. They move in another state of mind and another spiritual zone, to call it like that.
I can truthfully tell you that I have met a number of people who have been struck by beams of light quite unexpectedly. And I personally feel, from what I know about them, it has affected their lives. And in fact, may be true to say, changed the path of their lives.
You know, I can feel that you were in another place. It's like being transported, but not only into a ship. It looks like you have a little bit of a dimensional trip. That's the feeling I have. At the same time, I can perceive some beings around you, I feel for.
Did you ever stick to a lie, even though the truth was obvious to others?
No. And what if I imagined the whole glorious, fantastical thing? What if a small part of my brain switched to overload and I just filled in the blanks?
Modern neuroscience and modern psychology have demonstrated very well that our brains are capable of producing very believable, very detailed, rich, very emotional kinds of images that feel to the person perceiving it at the time like reality. And in fact, they're generated entirely by processes within our own heads. And many people assume wrongly that it's only deranged people or sick people or drunk people or people on drugs or people with brain damage that ever have these things. And it's true. Every one of those things will produce at times those kinds of real seeming but imaginary experiences. But the most fascinating part about this is that we now know that normal brains do this from time to time in people who are normal and who are not deranged or under chemical assist or anything of the sort. And yet, I believe they are still generated within the brain. They're not telling us something about what's going on out there, but they certainly tell us something very interesting about what's going on in here. Are you a migraine sufferer by any chance?
No.
No. Because many of the things you described are classic migraine symptoms. And there are such things as known as migraine equivalents, where some people get the prodrome, as it's called, and the auras and the scintilla and the sensory and even visceral concomitants of migraine without the headache. These migraine equivalents come on from from food allergies, from they're triggered by a sleep deprivation sometimes. There are just a number of naturalistic causes that can trigger them, and they are more common in people who are habitual migraineurs, but they by no means are unheard of in people who are not normally afflicted by migraine.
Did you ever do anything that you now think to be unethical?
No. As far as I know, I've never had a seizure or a migraine headache. As far as I know, I've never had a seizure or a migraine headache. But I do zone out a lot, and I daydream all the time, which, by the way, is quite healthy. Many UFO abductees report losing a substantial amount of time, and sometimes their watches stop. A scan of the UFO BC website shows that on the day of my encounter, there were no other similar reports. I've done extensive research on the internet and other archives, and have yet to come up with a report that looked even similar to mine. Are they able to
Interfere, yeah.
interfere?
Yeah, they interfere. It's only that sometimes they are able to stop time and things like that. So we don't really realize that they are around. But they are all the time vibrating with us. Like, it's only the frequency that doesn't allow us to see them all the time.
Right.
But we are like their children. They are guiding us and teaching us.
See what happened, you are there accidentally, maybe that location they were occupied, they were there, and you happen to be being on that territory, see that circle, and therefore suddenly they have to give you this experience. It is like a luck. You are a very lucky person. It's like once in 1 in million somebody gets a lottery ticket. Same thing, you happen to be in right place and the right time.
Yeah, no, and when that happens, it's because the vibration of your body change. That's why you are in another frequency.
Right. In the same way that we can't see the Arcturians.
Exactly.
They're in different frequencies.
Exactly, yeah. Only when they want that we see them, they allow us to.
Right.
It's like they lower their frequency for us to be able to see them.
We hear many reports of people watching things in the sky, and they turn for a second to either A, reach for a camera or binoculars, or to call a friend over. They look back, And this thing they've been watching for 30 or 45 minutes or whatever, not often that period of time, but whatever period of time, is no longer there. Gone. My question would be, and I don't have the answer, would be, is there a link, is there a psychic link between the person and the object and the situation, where looking away, the link is broken? So what you were looking at, which was very real to the observer, is no longer there. Do some people, we know that some people are telepathic. They can communicate. We often hear these stories about twins who have a sense of discomfort when their brother or sister is under stress. Something from one person's brain to the other is communicating. So is this same sort of communication wavelength taking place with this phenomena, this paranormal interaction, where either they can tune in or we're triggered so we can tune in to them? And the viewing takes place as long as they want it to. Many times I have heard people say, I saw this huge object. It was the size of a football field. It was triangular. It was moving just across the top of the trees. I could walk underneath it or just jog underneath it. It was moving so slowly. You must have heard from other people. They must have seen it. It was impossible for people not to have seen it. Did we hear? No, we didn't hear. We didn't hear from anybody.
I maintain that the encounter happened exactly as I described it to you. But how do I convince you? How do I prove it? Perhaps the authorities can shed some light. The Vancouver police claim that they receive a huge volume of reports every day and couldn't possibly investigate mine. The military didn't even bother to answer my emails.
They may also want to give you this experience. So because you are a sound, healthy, a strong intellectual person, and you can tell others, no, there is such a powers are there. When you say it become almost is authentic. You are not an ordinary person. So that another things also, because they also want to be, our human beings must accept accept that superpower and also the God's power. We should know that. So for that, this kind of direction maybe they given to you. They may be using you as a media to you can express this message to the worldly people, other people. There is such a power is there.
We would approach something like this as not by assuming that these people are fraudulent, not assuming that they're brain damaged or that they're fools or anything of the sort. I mean, that if there's anything that I have learned from talking to people is that by far and away they are sincere, they're honest, they're intelligent. They're telling me about something that they have experienced, and they may prefer a supernatural explanation. I, as a brain researcher, am going to try to fit it into what I think we've learned about the way the brain works and how we know it can, under certain circumstances, generate experiences that look remarkably like these, and we can still part friends at the end of the day if they don't accept my explanation, and I chalk it up as another victory for my side, you know.
God's design is to prepare people who will be able to guide, the humankind through this very difficult stage that they are passing through, and those are the spiritual teachers and the people who are enlightened.
And I think it has to do with integrity of heart, because you're not somebody that's going to go out and, I am powerful, come let me hear you. Now follow me, I am your guru.
Well, that was a mixed bag. What if there was a way to detect truthfulness? I considered using eye scan technology, but that method wouldn't work for this type of investigation. And I don't know anyone in the CIA. Or do I? who can tell if a person is lying just by the way their eyes move under questioning. But I could try a polygraph. Many heated arguments have erupted concerning the merits and validity of the polygraph. But I needed something to prove my credibility. So I decided to give it a try. And by the way, it's nothing like the depictions on TV crime dramas, as you will soon see.
Again, put it up to 160. There's no residual air in the cuff now, I don't think. Stabilize it at 60. Examination about to begin. Are you in Vancouver?
Yes.
Regarding your walk about midnight in or about Clark Park on the 4th of October 2000, you intend to answer truthfully each question.
Yes.
Did a cloud in the shape of a bell move from the North Shore mountains and hover over you?
Yes.
On the inside of the cloudy bell, did the shape of a bird appear as if branded into the cloud?
Yes.
That was the last question. Take the pieces off your hair, the arm cup. Two respiration tubes. And the finger plates.
Does it feel strange?
No, the only thing was the pressure cuff gets uncomfortable by the end of the questions.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
We consider a +6 to be a pass, -6 to be a failure, and anything in between is inconclusive.
Have there been a lot of skeptics that have sort of dismissed your experience?
Not a whole lot, but I think in any documentary, it's good to have balance, right? So I couldn't really prove my experience any other way. So I had to kind of prove my credibility or what I believed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And whatever the response will be, if the response is, that what you're saying is the truth, does that make you feel more confident when you approach people and discuss your experience? Will that be part of the story? I've done a polygraph.
Well, that's certainly part of the documentary. But no, I feel just the same as I did when I walked in.
Here's your report.
Thank you.
So what does the report say?
The physiological responses recorded in respect to the above relevant questions on each of the 3 polygraph charts obtained were those anticipated from someone who was not attempting to deceive the examiner. It is my opinion that you were being truthful when you answered the relevant questions as above. The instrument utilized for this examination was a 4-channel Lafayette polygraph that provides tracings of respiration at both the abdominal and thoracic areas of the cardiovascular system and the skin conductance response. You were totally cooperative, and there was no evidence that you were trying to influence the results of the examination. I passed. But what does that mean? It means that I believe that I'm telling the truth. And that's all a polygraph can do. And now I pose the question, why me?
We're wanting to know you because your energy was interesting to them.
Do you feel that that's the first time that we connected, or do you think they knew me from before?
They knew you from before. When you asked me, I feel it.
I really feel that you have a mission ahead of you. That mission is to guide others, and not everybody has to see this. It doesn't have to be like that. We have only a prophet at the time. We don't have only a teacher by so many. Not everybody can be a prophet, or everybody can be a teacher. But if we have one, it's enough. No, he can pass on the light to the others. That's the whole point.
Maybe in the eventually, God may have some purpose to show this vision to you. Maybe you have a mission. The God may have created the mission for you. So I don't rush you. I don't say become priest tomorrow. But no, you can think something about doing good others. You definitely, when you think, this power will bless you.
They want to see how you are assimilating changes too. That's a feeling I have strong.
You are doing this on your own because they are showing you and you're following paths. Do you understand? And part of what you're doing right now in this moment has to do with that. The fact that you're reaching out to people and you're asking for different ways to look at the situation and whatnot shows them that you are listening to them and you are trying to move forward. The archangels are coming to introduce to you unconditional love so that you can introduce that to those around you. And it goes on and it goes on and it goes on. You are coming to a place, Chris, where you're about to experience what it's like to be so much more, right? And they're just giving you the tips. And lots of people get signs that they will never, ever recognize. But the fact that you were able to recognize this and then pursue it in a way at a human level, because remember, your spirit having a human experience. So the fact that you can still use your humanness is awesome. You will be the inspiration to others to relate their experiences, to actually appreciate what was given to them, to cease being afraid of spirit, and instead just embrace. And that may be, thank you, love, that may be, he says, all that you have to know about what's coming next for you.
So now what? I've explored all the possibilities, I've heard from the experts, and now it's time to draw my own conclusions. Was it a UFO? Was it an angel? Was it the Arcturians from another dimension or another vibrational state? Was it a seizure or a migraine, a phoenix or a thunderbird? Or am I just a nut bar and I imagined the whole thing? One thing I've learned from this documentary is that nothing is impossible. Could it have been the mother of all migraine headaches? Of course. It seems unlikely, but it's a possibility. What about a seizure? Epilepsy is certainly a possibility, but as far as I know, I've never had an epileptic event. What about a UFO? It's a strong possibility. The cloud flew toward me, maintaining the same elevation and flying in a straight line. Many people who have had UFO experiences claim that some UFOs hide behind cloud. As far as I recall on that night, though, I did not see a craft, and I did not lose any time. What about a dimensional shift? This is a very strong possibility, and this could account for why I didn't lose any time. In another dimension, I could have been engaged for hours, and in Earth time, only a moment may have passed. This could also explain why no one else witnessed the encounter. What about an angel? As you recall, I'm not a religious man, but a spiritual one. And I certainly believe in energetic and spiritual beings that interact with us. My full name is Christopher, which means Christ bearer. So there may be a connection to the angelic realm that I didn't think possible. Here's a unique perspective. What if angels, Arcturians, Thunderbirds, etc., are one and the same, and they only appear differently to appeal to different observers? Based on all I've learned and presented to you, my conclusion is that the encounter was my energetic and spiritual awakening party. Just imagine the buzz at the nightclub. Archangel Michael jumps up and shouts, "I'm gonna go wake up Chris. Who's with me? Arcturians? I'm in. Thunderbird? I'm in. Phoenix? I'll rise to the occasion. What about you, James Randi? James Randi?" Everyone turns and looks to the bar, where a solitary figure broods and mutters to himself. I didn't see it coming. I get the impression that encounters like mine don't happen very often, and the entities must have been overjoyed to be part of the festivities. The encounter, my encounter, had to be an extravaganza to get my undivided attention so that I would wake from my delusion. And it worked. The encounter was the catalyst to spark my interest in the unseen and all things esoteric. And most importantly, it sparked me to share my encounter and my exploration of the encounter with you.